Navigation technology is constantly evolving. There are expensive onboard systems, free open source software, and everything in between. We've tried a lot of options to make sure that we have as much information as possible while moving our floating home around the world. For years, OpenCPN was a big part of our navigation setup, but before we crossed the Pacific, we made a change. And now, 2 years later, it's still what we're using. In this video, we want to show you how it works and why we've stuck with it after thousands of nautical miles. Just to be clear, we're not affiliated with any of these companies. This is genuinely what we've been using. We've mentioned them before, and you've probably seen them in our videos, but we just wanted to share what's been working for us and pass the information along.
So a few years back, we made a video about our navigation system, and the whole thing was pretty much all about OpenCPN. Now, if you watch that one, you already know that I liked it, and I still do. Here's what it did for us. It was free, it was open source, and it worked really well for us. It opened basically any chart that we could get our hands on, vector, raster, older formats that nobody seems to support anymore, and the free official charts from the countries that actually give them away for free. And that's important out here. You know, any chart that we threw at it, OpenCPN seemed to not have a problem opening it. And there were plugins for almost anything that we needed. Radar, weather routing, celestial, tides, engine data. If you wanted the program to do something, somebody had probably built it, and it was there for us to use. But there were a few things that pulled in a different direction for us. And the first one was stability. And I do want to be careful here because this is our experience on our setup. And I am not claiming that everybody has the same experience. But it just seemed that as the project moved forward towards Flatpak on Linux for its distribution, our installs got less reliable. What got me back to a stable system was building from source. And that's where I've been since they moved to Flatpak. I'm capable of doing that, but it really turned the program from something that I updated in a minute in the past to something that now I really had to set aside an afternoon or an evening for. The second issue that we started running into was really the plugins. Almost everything that we cared about came through on a plugin. And every plugin is a separate project run by separate people on a separate schedule. They're not always in sync with the releases that you're on. So what happens is you update, something that you depend on doesn't come back, and you're waiting on somebody that you've never met to have a free weekend to work on their plugin. Which brings up a part I've thought about most. When you need help with a plugin, or you need help with the core application, you're asking an individual developer, and that's really been hit or miss for me. Some have been, well, I should say most have been extremely generous with their time. Some haven't, and there's been a few that have been outright hostile. I'm not naming anybody, but it's the first time that I've ever had to block someone on a user forum. And look, I'm not saying that this is, I'm not saying this to be mean to anyone. I'm just saying this because it just seems like this is the part of running open source software that it just doesn't seem like many people talk about. And then the last thing that pushed us towards making a change, and this is a big one, there is no iOS version of OpenCPN. There never has been, and it really looks like there just never will be. There is an Android build, but that build trails the desktop in features, and it's really just, it's not a full-featured application. And while I do really appreciate the work from that developer and the time he spent, it really is far from a complete package. Holly's phone is an iPhone. Most of our tablets are iPads. So the software I was navigating on couldn't be run on a handful of the devices that we actually pick up and carry around the boat all the time. That's a huge hole that we just couldn't work around. And I stopped pretending that we could. Okay, so what do we use now? qtVlm. Not a fan of the name, but that's what it's called. Now, qtVlm is famous for weather routing. It came out of offshore racing. It does isochrone routing with real polars, and people who race use it for that specifically. I actually almost never use it for any of that. I do my weather routing in PredictWind, which is an amazing application, and LuckGrib, which likewise is fantastic. If I had to rank these routing tools that we have aboard Sailboat, qtVlms would come in behind those. And I'd still be running qtVlm tomorrow, though, because that's not why I use it. So basically, if you're here because you want to know whether qtVlm's routing is worth switching for, I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't use it. It's good, but there's more intuitive options out there, and honestly, our recommendation is PredictWind. So qtVlm is one program. It's the radar, the AIS, the autopilot, weather, routing, instruments, alarms, tides, charts, all of it. It's all one thing built by one team. And honestly, our radar has worked in qtVlm perfectly, even after every update. And I didn't have to negotiate with anyone's plugins to get there. Instrument data is the same story. Getting NEMA into qtVlm and under the gauges is completely straightforward. You point it at the source, numbers show up. Doing the equivalent on anything else meant a plugin, a separate configuration file, a bunch of trial and error before you got the gauges exactly where you wanted. And you still just didn't have the type of customization that we wanted to make it our own. Here, it's just all part of the program. You drag the readout, whether it's a dial, a gauge, a number, whatever. You put it wherever you want it, or you resize it wherever you want, and you're done. It'll also talk to an autopilot in a limited way. It can output steering sentences, and there's a nice option in there to send a heading that's already current, compensated, instead of just a plain bearing to a mark. Honestly, though, we don't use the autopilot, not because it doesn't work, because it does work well, but because we just don't want to hand our autopilot control to a third-party app or even a general-purpose computer. So, our philosophy is that steering Sailboat stays with what is our autopilot gear, the B&G. It's built to do it. It's got its own network, its own controls, and its navigation software tells me where to go on my iPads, but it does not move the rudder on Sailboat. And that's just our own safety precautions. Okay, and then this was the big one for us. qtVlm runs on Windows, Linux, Mac, Raspberry Pis, Androids, and on iOS. Super easy, straightforward install, no building from sources, no Flatpaks, no weird settings. And when I say it's the same program, I don't mean it's a companion app that shows you what the desktop worked out, and I don't mean it's a stripped down version. The tablet version is the full application. Same charts, same routing, same instruments, same settings. Anything I plan on a laptop, I can also plan on the iPad. Now, radar is the one exception. So the radar works really well with qtVlm, but raw radar data is really just too much to reliably push over Wi-Fi. So the way that qtVlm handles that is it gets processed by the desktop instance first and then handed off to the tablet or your iPhone from there. The tablet needs the desktop machine running to show the radar. So compare that to the alternative. In OpenCPN, radar on a tablet means running a VNC server on the NavDesk machine and remoting into it. And VNC isn't just for radar, it's for everything. Every pan, every zoom, every button press, it's going over the network. It's going through VPN to another computer and coming back as a picture. It's very laggy in a way that you constantly feel. And it honestly just gets in the way of using the app. And if that machine goes down, the tablet goes down with it. Now, qtVlm needs the desktop for radar, but nothing else. The charts, the positions, AIS, routing, instruments, it's all running on the tablet itself. So it's quick the way a native app is quick. And if the nav desk machine quits, I only lose the radar overlay. I keep on navigating. And it has something that I haven't seen anywhere else. It sends data across the network to other copies of itself. Your routes, your waypoints, your grid files, polars. It's all part that people don't think about when they've got the same application running in multiple devices. Most importantly for me, the instrument settings. It sends those over. I set my gauges in a layout I want one time on one device, then I send those settings out to all my other devices. Every screen on this boat looks the same and behaves the same. And I know that that sounds like it's just a convenience, but it isn't. When you're tired and it's dark, you pick up whatever screen is closest, and you don't want to have to reorient yourself. Depth is where depth always is. The button is where the button always is. I stopped losing the few seconds it takes to remember which machine I'm holding when I pick it up. The alternative is doing the setup 3 times, 4 times, whatever, by hand. And then you do it again every time you change your mind about anything. With qtVlm, if you change your mind and you move something, you send it off and it goes off to everything. Now, on the charts, and this is really important, it reads everything I need it to, including free official charts and the ones that I build myself. And the developer sells his own worldwide vector packs on top of that if you ever really just want to buy coverage. Now, this is the other thing that is such an important part of using this app. When I've run into problems, and I'll be honest, I have, the developers answered. Not a canned reply, not a snarky, feel free to code that yourself and do a PR. And not 3 weeks later, he digs into it, asks for the data, works on the problem, and ships a fix. I've had feature requests turn up the very next release, and I just wasn't used to that. There's no plugin layer, so there's nothing to fall out of sync. The radar, the instruments, AIS, they ship together and they update together. Things just work, and when they don't, there's one person to ask, and he always answers. So I know this is coming across as a sales pitch or something like that, but I have zero involvement with qtVlm except that I'm a user. The main reason for this video is that we have people reach out to us and ask us what we're using now because they see our old OpenCPN video. And I just thought that it was important to share that we've made a change and why we made that change. qtVlm is not an easy application to pick up and use, especially if you're used to Navionics or even OpenCPN. It can be a bit confusing. And so that's why, I am going to point out that the manual is actually a really excellent resource. It's very complete about all the features. It's huge. It's about 300 pages. But all the modules are documented, and there are a number of really good tutorial videos out there too, and we'll put some links to those. David Birch does a really, really good job of tutorials. The real gap outside the manual, though, is the user base. It's much smaller than OpenCPN. So when the manual doesn't cover your situation, there aren't 20 years of forum threads waiting for you to dive into. Sometimes there's nothing at all, and you're sort of just left working it out yourself until you can get a reply from one of the developers. And again, like I said, the interface is dense. There's a ton of options, and they're not always where you'd guess they would be. It took me quite a while. In fact, it took us a few years to start getting comfortable, and honestly, I almost gave up half a dozen times. Here's how we live with all of it, though. Everything on the boat feeds into Signal K, and Signal K decides which sources. We have multiple heading indicators, multiple GPSs, and Signal K decides which of those has priority. So the navigation software is just a display. It doesn't have to choose what to use. If I want to change programs, I change programs, and nothing else on the boat notices. The plotter at the helm is absolutely our main navigation tool. We have it loaded with commercial charts and is independent of all of this. OpenCPN is still installed on the nav desk as a backup. It still works. But honestly, now it's rarely running. qtVlm is always running on the nav desk, and while underway, it's always running on a tablet at the helm. We use it on our phones, and we use it at other tablets that we have on the boat. It's been invaluable for showing us satellite images while navigating through reefs, and it makes up for very, very inaccurate commercial charts available for places like we are now in Fiji.
So I noticed up here, it's like, wow, what's going on? Why is there such a difference between the satellite and the chart? Then watch this. When you actually zoom out, wait for it. We'll do it. Yeah.
Wow.
If you're a cruiser who wants one program on your nav desk, at your helm, in your pocket, in your hand, and you want them to all stay in sync without managing files, then I absolutely encourage you to check out qtVlm. If you get radar you want your screen, it works, and it works without any sort of side projects. If you already feed your instruments into a data hub like Signal K, it drops right in. If you've ever sat waiting on a plugin maintainer who wasn't answering, that itself might be a reason to switch to qtVlm. And if, unlike us, you race, or if you root seriously, then the features I barely use are, from what we've been told and what we've read, are best in class, and you'll get more out of this program than I do. So with that, if you have any questions, reach out, check our website. We do plan on having some follow-up blog posts that will go into some of the settings that we use in qtVlm. But honestly, as far as like a walkthrough or a this is how you use it, there are a lot better resources out there that we will point you to. But anyways, so we just wanted to give you another option to look at, another navigation program, one that we've been very happy with and one that we're going to continue using.